Welcome back to Paul's Tech News. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a bit spicy today. Maybe it's because I was recently probed for the 69th time, or it might just be that it's the week of Valentine's Day and I am DTF. Distributing tech facts about notable events from the world of technology from the past week. I have several stories that might arouse your curiosity, such as Nvidia swelling and engorging to an overall size like we've never seen before, Intel teasing us seductively with titular links from their Raptor Lake CPU lineup expected later this year, and a potential early release for AMD's AM5 platform and Ryzen 7000 series CPUs. Exciting news to be sure, but don't pull out of today's show prematurely. You'll want to keep that raging curiosity up for the duration so you can enjoy that tingling sensation as the week's pent-up tech news just explodes all over your face. Don't worry about the mess though. I brought wet wipes. Cheers.
Excellent!
Let's skip the foreplay and get right into the heavy stuff today. Big, juicy, and largely unsubstantiated rumors about AMD's new AM5 platform and Ryzen 7000 series CPUs started swirling Thursday, as notorious Twitter leaker Greymon55 indicated in multiple tweets that AMD's Zen 4 chips would not be coming in Q4, but earlier in fact, Q3 maybe, which is still within AMD's second half launch window, and could mean as early as July. If the first round of AM5 motherboard samples actually starts shipping within the next month or so, as the Twitter tease indicates, then we could see a Computex announcement by the end of May even. Who knows? There are quite a few reasons why AMD might attempt an early launch though, the chief one likely being that Intel's 12th gen core CPUs are quite competitive with Ryzen 5000 at multiple price points, and I would say AMD's budget CPU options in particular are lacking versus Team Blue right now. With Intel's 13th gen Raptor Lake CPUs expected to push out even more performance later this year, AMD could do well to get an edge up with an earlier launch of their next gen AM5 motherboards rather than just relying on the 5800X3D, the AM4 CPU with 3D V-cache that seems more and more like a stopgap and still doesn't have a fixed launch date, just spring. Ryzen 7000 CPUs are also expected to ship with bumped up cache capacities and support for USB 4.0, PCI Express Gen 5, and dual-channel DDR5, but they apparently won't have a hybrid memory controller for DDR4 support like the current Intel 12th gen core CPUs do, so DDR5 pricing will potentially be a big factor in the upgrade cost for the AM5 platform. On Monday, we received confirmation of the Nvidia rumor from last week, the ARM acquisition, a $66 billion deal between Nvidia and ARM owner SoftBank, has fallen apart. The decision to stop pursuing the deal from the Nvidia side was reportedly made at a board meeting Monday, and the reasons are pretty clear. Regulators in the US, UK, and EU have all raised serious concerns about how the purchase might have affected competition in the global semiconductor industry, and many large tech companies that rely on ARM's chips designs, like Qualcomm and Microsoft, strongly objected. There were also normal people like you and me who said, hey, maybe Nvidia having so much control over the underlying technology that so many of their direct competitors rely on wouldn't be a good thing from a basic economic and fair market competition perspective. Unless you own a lot of Nvidia stock, of course. SoftBank will still be going their separate ways from ARM and will receive a breakup fee of up to $1.25 billion. Meanwhile, ARM is dealing with the breakup by planning a quick rebound with as many willing parties as possible via an IPO on the US-based NASDAQ exchange, with public listings expected sometime between now and March 2023. Nvidia stockholders can console themselves over the loss of the ARM deal with a reminder that Nvidia is still quite healthy overall, and in fact they are now the 7th largest US-based company out of all the US-based companies, by market cap at least, thanks at least in part to last week's precipitous falloff in Meta, aka Facebook's stock price. Interestingly, Nvidia was the 50th largest US company just 2 years ago. So let's see what contributing factors may have impacted their business significantly over the past 2 years to help them achieve such great success. Surely it couldn't be that they suddenly found themselves to be the beneficiary of economic conditions that caused the market value of the GPUs they manufacture to skyrocket. Probably not. Let's just chalk it up to Jensen's business acumen and fashion sense. Moving on, we have another Intel Raptor Lake leak with benchmark results from a 13th gen Core i9-13900K 24-core 32-thread CPU spotted in the ashes of the Singularity database. The 13900K is rumored to have 8 P-cores with hyperthreading and 16 E-cores without, although some software software doesn't distinguish between those properly yet, hence the 32-core, 32-thread listing in this result. It might also have 68 megabytes of local cache, a big boost versus prior generations, and possibly a nod to AMD doing the same thing with their 3D V-cache chips in terms of boosting up cache capacity. And while Ashes isn't the best benchmark for a CPU to CPU performance comparison, the 134.9 FPS average frame rate puts the 13900K in the same ballpark as the 12900K while still outpacing the 5950X. Expect 13th gen core CPUs later in 2022, likely by Q4, with 125 watt, 65 watt, and 35 watt variants, and just like your mom, they're rumored to be backwards compatible with LGA 1700 motherboards. A handful of Steam Deck reviews went live on Monday as well, with tech YouTube channels Linus Tech Tips and Gamers Nexus getting their hands on early units for testing. Linus was resplendent in his classic dark aqua LTT indoor hoodie and heather black beanie, luring you in with his coquettish prattle and flamboyant gesticulations before ramming it home in the end with the backdoor sponsor spot. Steve was, well, Steve. Rugged, primal, his flowing locks tumbling down, his smoldering gaze piercing you as he relentlessly pounds away with his charts and analysis and data backed up by hour upon hour of tireless experimentation and testing until your senses are overwhelmed and you collapse, lying on the floor, confused, exposed, and trembling. So a pretty similar experience to most of the Gamers Nexus videos that I've watched, I guess. What was I talking about though? That's right, Steam Deck. It's pretty good. Valve did a good job on the design, and even though Linus' hands are just a bit too small and delicate to fully utilize all the shoulder and ABXY buttons comfortably, the human interface elements, thumbsticks, trackpads, and things, are very high quality, as is the screen in his estimation. Performance is good in the games they were allowed to test. Battery life was in the 2 to 8 hour range while gaming, although settings like frame rate and resolution can affect that a lot. Steve praised the overall cooling design, which, even with a single small fan, cools everything adequately except maybe one of the memory modules. The cooling is actually worse with the back cover off because it's needed to direct the airflow over the components. The only thing that was universally disliked is the haptic feedback, which is limited to the small vibrations from the trackpads rather than having a dedicated component for vibration. So the Steam Deck is looking good, particularly at its $400 to $650 price in a world where consoles and GPUs are in short supply otherwise. And Valve did the modding community a solid by releasing Steam Deck CAD files on Friday too, so we'll likely see a whole range of 3D printed accessories for the device soon as well. The first round of pre-ordered Steam Decks will ship to customers who pre-ordered them on February 25th. Best Buy has drawn the ire of the PC gaming community by placing their gaming GPU sales behind a $200 paywall, the Total Tech Perks program, which requires a yearly subscription and supposedly provides other benefits like extended return windows and supplemental warranties, but has mostly been used to allow Best Buy to cater sales of hot products like game consoles and GPUs to Total Tech program members, leaving the ragged commoners who can't afford the $2 Benjamin cover charge locked out of the GPU party. Even more frustrating is the fact that Best Buy has exclusive retail rights to sell Founders Edition cards, and they also have agreements that prevent them from selling above MSRP, which the Total Tech Perks program requirement is clearly circumventing. For a while in the past year, Best Buy was announcing upcoming GPU drops and giving real customers a chance to grab one for a reasonable price, but they seem to have abandoned that in order to force more people into their subscription-based program. If there was any justice in the world, they wouldn't be able to even call themselves Best Buy anymore. They'd have to change it to Worst Sell, or Average Exchange. If you've been considering a new SSD recently, you might want to make that purchase sooner rather than later. Reports of a contamination at 2 Japanese flash memory factories used by Western Digital and Kioxia has affected at least 6.5 exabytes of flash memory, commonly used in products ranging from phones, memory cards, and USB drives to SSD storage for desktops, servers, and laptops. There's already concern that this could affect pricing of those devices. Western Digital issued a press release Wednesday to inform the public of the situation, but details are frustratingly sparse. They said, contamination of certain material used in its manufacturing processes has occurred, but they don't state the nature of the contamination, what material was affected, or how they went about their business manufacturing at least 6.5 exabytes worth of this apparently bad flash before the problem was discovered. For WD and Kioxia, I have a solution though. Hire Mo from Wally. He'll clean that shit right up. Born contaminant. And now comes the part towards the end where the tempo speeds up. Everything gets faster and more frantic, pushing relentlessly towards that moment when you climax all over your tech briefs. Speaking of a climax, MSI was apparently holding out with their climactic top-tier Z690 motherboard, the MEG Z690 GODLIKE, which was finally revealed Tuesday in all its glory. Behold, the illuminated Dragon Nebula ARGB lighting with touch control and a plug-in LCD dashboard, symbolizing the endless power of the one universe, says their press release, quite literally, because apparently MSI does not believe in the multiverse. Tons of other features like 6 M.2 slots, a 20+ 2-phase 105 amp power delivery setup, and of course 10 gigabit Ethernet make the $2,100 asking price a completely reasonable investment. Fractal also launched new cases Wednesday, the Torrent Compact and Torrent Nano. The Compact costs $170 and is a scaled down version of the original Torrent that still supports motherboards as large as eATX, and the Nano costs $130 and is a mini ITX enclosure with room for tall tower coolers or a 240 or 280mm rad in the bottom. Tech Power Up liked the Nano, particularly for air-cooled setups, giving it a highly recommended award, but found the Compact, which is also available for $150 in the non-RGB variant, to have a few too many compromises, like being limited to micro ATX with the default fan configuration for their taste. If you need more storage, consider Toshiba's plans to ramp up their hard drive capacities. They already have 18 terabyte drives, they have immediate plans to release 20 terabyte drives, and within 4 months, they plan to launch a helium-filled 26 terabyte hard drive with 10 platters. Then they plan to do a 30 terabyte drive in 2023 and a 40+ terabyte drive within 5 years, which incidentally is also probably how long it will take to do a full format on one of these behemoths. Spinning Rust for the win. Next-gen PCIe 5.0 GPU power connectors have been rumored for months now, and thanks to some leaked images of MSI's newest power supplies, we have a look at one. It's a 12-pin connector that looks like a slimmed-down version of a typical 8-pin connector with 4 more pins. It can provide up to 600 watts of power and is expected to be used with PCI Express 5.0 compatible graphics cards launching later in 2022. Let's round things out with some nerd culture news. First, Disney's Star Wars account tweeted Wednesday with a poster and air date for the upcoming Obi-Wan Kenobi series on Disney+. May 25th, which isn't May the 4th, of course, which would be Star Wars Day, but the 25th will be the 45-year anniversary of the release of the original Star Wars movie, aka A New Hope. Ewan McGregor will reprise his role as the legendary Jedi Master, and Hayden Christensen will be returning to play the role of Darth Vader. I hope it's really, really good. And another bit of welcome news in nerd lore land this week was the return of Futurama, which is being brought back by Hulu with all new episodes and most of the original cast. 20 episodes have been ordered, so fans of the Planet Express crew can immerse themselves in the beloved series once again, with the one holdup being that John DiMaggio, who iconically voiced Bender, has not been confirmed to return and might be recast. That would be a shame, but on the plus side, they're already beginning table reads this week, so we'll be able to welcome Fry, Leela, Zoidberg, and the rest back into our homes soon. This makes me glad. But there you have it, guys. Tech news for the week, and wow, it was a wild ride. I think I might need a shower. But hey, if you liked today's episode, click that like button and you can be my Valentine this week. And your feedback is always welcome, of course, so please feel free to leave me a comment down below while you're down there. All the articles I talked about today are linked in the description if you're interested, and check out my store at paulshardware.net for high-quality merch, t-shirts, hoodies, beer sets, and more. And if you're not subscribed, maybe consider subscribing. Thanks again, everyone, and we'll see you next week. Cheers. It's a fine vintage.